the framing is, I'll say, equally as important as the work. I've had a collector ask, can they acquire the work and I frame it in a black frame? And I will say no. It doesn't matter how big the collector is. The reason the works are framed in this way is based on what this means. And what we know that when we're in a museum, when we see something framed in this way, what that means to us when we see it, we usually think that, oh, this must be an important person. This must be an important piece. That's just society, just how society has, I guess, how we've been, I don't know the words, to just view gold and gold frames in this way.
And you talked a little bit during the tour about how you acquire your frame. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I originally, even before I started doing this work, I would collect gold antique frames. No matter what I put in the frames, never to me felt like it fit ever. So this collection of gold frames that I had was just sitting there. And then when I started making this work, I started framing them in those frames. But then it became a part of the process where I would find these antique frames, and oftentimes they would even have artwork in them. And so it became a part of the process where I would remove this piece and kind of reposition Black bodies in that frame. And I have a few stories. I went, my sister and I drove down to South Carolina, and we found these huge, beautiful frames. And the gentleman, when we arrived, he had already Googled me because he was just like, I just was curious to find out who was driving all the way down here to get this frame and why. And he said he got chills because the frame was from his family's old plantation home. And so he said it was crazy to him that I would now be putting my works in that frame. But a couple miles down the street, we go to this other seller that I had been talking to on Marketplace, and I think I was finishing up a phone call. My sister went to knock on the door, and my sister comes back to the car, and she's like, oh, she said she's not selling it anymore. I said, what do you mean she's not selling it anymore? She said, I have no idea. She took one look at me and told me she's not selling it anymore. I said, oh no, we're selling, we're selling this today. I don't know what. So I go, and I said, my sister said you're not selling this anymore. She said, no, I changed my mind. I said, no, no. We drove 8 hours for this. I've been talking to you. She said, you haven't been talking to me. You've been talking to my daughter. And so her daughter comes, she's like, Mom, stop, and so the mom says to me, well, you're not leaving until the payment clears. And so I'm like, ma'am, I have one better for you. Here's cash. And you're going to be so mad when you see what I've put in your frame, because I know that was what her problem was. But so the frames have these stories that come with them, and they very much became a part of the work. That process of finding frames was before COVID. And so when COVID hit, I could no longer go and venture out to pick up frames or meet with people. And so I found a frame builder in Utah, and I just took a shot. He sells frames, but he also has a custom framing, as well. So I just took a shot. I said, hey, can you make this frame for me? He was like, I'm up for the challenge. So he's been up for the challenge ever since. And I'll send him maybe 2 or 3 historical frames and ask him to piece, this is what I want for this and that and this, and we'll work on it together, and he'll bring it to life for me.
Interesting.
So.
With your love of frames, has a frame ever dictated the work in any way? Like you found a particular shape of frame or anything like that, and you say, I got to make something for this?
I'll say yes. When I was finding frames, yes. Yes, but when I started building frames, and again, so the polyptych frame that you see in the other gallery, which has the 5 different openings, now that did dictate how that work was going to be displayed, because I saw that frame first, and I wanted him to create a replica of it, so yes.
Interesting.